despite I wanted to read the First Aid Volume 1 before tending to my deep wound. I changed my mind thinking about the helicopter event, so I took a suture needle looted yesterday from the bathroom, removed the dirty bandage from my groin and stitched the wound before bandaging it back. After that, I did a little bit of loot reorganization. The bigger change was that I moved all small electronic devices to one of the backpacks I have on the table, plus the television I left in the car trunk down to the basement inside the metal shelf. At this point, it was time to travel back to where I ended my loot run yesterday. On my way there, I had to stop to deal with a zombie I found at the crossroad. Then, before I could start moving, another emerged from behind the white wrecked car. To have a safe way home, it was wise of me to get out and deal with this one as well. Next, carefully driving between the one-story houses and the trees grown all around the place, I reached the road leading to the convenience store. Then I stopped to bully a pedestrian near the last house looted yesterday, and I'm glad I did so considering he had some caffeine pills I could use later. Time I was done looting, another two was already on me. While pushing them down, another one joined the fight. Before all three was down, one of them already got up, so I had to spend more stamina to push him down again before I could finish the one on the ground. Time to do so, and they were on their feet, and a third one was approaching, following by a fourth one as well. At this point, I was forced to resort to the use of my metal bar, alternating hits with pushes in order to prevent them to get a hold of me. Finally, one of them I pushed down, decided to become a crawler, and soon after I got my first pipe kill. Considering I was left with two on their feet, I started pushing them down, and to safely deal with the crawler, I smashed his head with my weapon. The kick on the second didn't kill him, and another one joined the fight. So I started again using my pipe, only to see one knockdown and a kill immediately after. So I pushed the last two until I was able to kill one with the feet, and time I was positioned on top of the second's head, I had to start pushing the last guest to this fight. Once down, I disposed of the one under my feet and had to stomp the body of the last one in order to prevent him from getting up. Then I had to push a new member of the fight club and punish them both for violating Rule 4 and 5. Once I was done, another one decided to hug me and called his two friends for help when he felt on the ground. I dropped the first and then moved a little bit back in order to make the second land on top of the one laying on the ground, and using a body stomp secured that they stay there. All of this was taking too much stamina, so I decided to kill the one on his feet with my metal bar before finishing the last two with my feet. Time to finish them, and another came from the south. Finally, after dealing with him, I thought the fight was over and started looting. Little did I know that there was no time to rest, because two more came from the west. The first dropped on the ground after the first push, but I was not fast enough to finish him before I had to push the second. Because of my extreme exhaustion, I wasn't able to finish any of them before they both were again on their feet. So I had to retreat to separate them, allowing me to drop them both on the ground. The second was too fast on getting up, so I had to alternate stomping and swinging in order to keep them both on the ground, and eventually I was able to kill both of them. Man, I had no time to think what to do next, that another one came from the north. To my surprise, despite my exhaustion, I was able to drop him from the first push and kill from the second stomp. I needed to rest as soon as possible, so I decided to retreat to the previous house. On my way there, I had to defeat another enemy. Then in the bedroom, I sat on the bed and finished reading Foraging Level 1, allowing me to get rid of dead weight, leaving it in the bed drawer. Then I removed the glass shards from the window and left the building, while looting the enemies for some belts, watches and boots. I finally found a denim shirt in perfect condition. This is absurd that it took 200 kills to lay hands on one. After looting them, I reached the house and taught its owner, banging his head on the door, how he should open it. Then I smashed his head to reinforce the concept he just learned. As gratitude, he rewarded me with his Casio watch. At this point was time to get closer to the convenience store, and I noticed two separate groups roaming around. So I baited the fastest Zed from the small group to my location, and dealt with him swiftly before calling the second in order to give him the same treatment. After that, I double-checked my surroundings to be sure that I can safely deal with the waiting line to the convenience store. Once I got close enough to see the reaction of a really slow zombie, I also noticed that another one emerged from the left tree line. So I backed down, trying to get closer to the last one. After dealing with him, I zoomed out and noticed that other two reacted to the noise. In order to not multiply my troubles, I decided to get back closer to the house. They were walking at a totally different pace, allowing me to easily deal with all three. One of them has a belt, watch and boots to add to my collection, plus a rare high visibility vest in almost perfect condition that offers some scratch defense. After wearing it, I went back to the dumpsters in order to get the attention of the next victim, then waited for him there in order to not mess up with my crowd control workflow. The noise alerted three of them. To avoid worsening my situation, I backed a little, then added them to my fresh graveyard. Next, approaching the last three, I almost joined their chit-chat in order to force one of them to react to my presence. My boots explained him that he should not mess with his owner. Then, trying to lure the second, a new one appeared from thin air. It was exciting to see that one started to share a secret to the other, whispering in his ears. When the one listening started chasing me, allowed me to understand that the whisperer was his boss, judged by what reaction he had afterwards. Once the boss saw his employee incompetence, he decided that he can do a better job with its own hands. But seconds after regretted his poor judgment. Then I also disposed of the last member of the team and checked my surroundings. Then, out of curiosity, a traveler was going toward the fight location, only to learn the curiosity kills the cats when saw my boot landing on his face. I got the proof that it was a traveler when I found a dehydrated meat stick on him that I stole for myself. After dealing with the owner of the convenience store, finally, a few moments of peace allowed me to check the dart in the parking lot. On the first seat, I found a walkie-talkie. Great find considering that dismantling it, you gain a lot of electrical experience, without mentioning the battery inside. The last one can be used for my torch. On another seat, I found some matches, while in the glove box there was some alcohol wipes. After that was time to check the condition of the dart. They were average, but when I saw the gas tank, my mood hugely improved. But then I remembered that despite I have a gas can in my base, after build 42 you also need a rubber hose in order to siphon the fuel from the cars. With that thought in mind, I checked the trunk only to be rewarded with the item I actually wanted. After all of this trouble, I thought I could loot the store in peace. But after I approached the door to see 3 Zeds inside, I understood that I was wrong. So I opened the door to let the 2 banging on it to get out. Then, after pushing them down, I had to use the pipe to prevent one of them to get up, and with 2 stomps finished the other one. This gave the time for the first to get up, and after pushing him back on the ground, I closed the store door to avoid from being attacked from behind while finishing the troublemaker. Time to get some useful loot from those 2. Another one came from the right, and after 2 pushes I was able to make him fall, before finishing him with my boots. While waiting for the next incoming, I checked the garbage. This allowed me to find a crowbar in worn condition inside. After taking it, I pushed on the ground the Zed mentioned before. But I had no time to stomp him before a group of 3 joined the fight. Considering the amount of fights I was through today, I knew that I have a really small amount of steam in me. This is why I retreated to the closest house and climbed in through the bathroom window. This allowed me to easily deal with the first. Following him, there was another 2 climbing together. I was able to stomp only one while had to push the second back down. More was starting to pour in, and the situation became uncontrollable. So I decided to leave the house and close the door behind me. I was already out of breath and the fight just started. But instead of retreating, I positioned myself to the right corner of the window in the hopes that anyone would climb over before the door will break. But this wasn't working, so I moved to the main window instead. This made 2 climb through different windows, one of which landed under my boots. After dealing with him, I went to fight the other one. After that, I checked the loot from the one in front of the main window, Seconds after, the door was broken and they start pouring through the window. I strafed back to avoid their grabs and then finished one of them with my pipe. My timing and positioning was a little bit off because I was getting confused by the dark and the corpses pile on the ground. So I enabled my torch, and after a little bit of struggle, I finally killed one of them. But while trying to stop the second from getting up, I was pushed away by a new zombie that just climbed through the window. After pushing them both to the ground, I had to alternate stomping and swinging in order to keep them down and finish them off. Despite my exhaustion, I'm too close to the store to give up, so I moved my car closer to it, but had to stop and deal with a new enemy in the middle of the road. After baiting him away from the road, I finished him and went back inside the truck. Finally, I was able to park in reverse in the second spot, so I can easily fill up the truck with all of the loot from the store. Time to leave the car, and I had to fight another Z that came from the building. Then finally, after reaching the door, I dealt with the one I blocked behind it before. Finally, I was able to start looting. From the first 2 magazine stands, I was able to obtain some literature. Then I thrown on the ground all the rotten food from the first double fridge. Before continuing looting, I had to get out and deal with the enemy banging on the window. While doing so, I got a level in sneaking. Turning around, I saw another customer that wanted to try my specialty, some spicy bloody boots. After the customer was satisfied, I went back in and dismantled the large store fridge. Considering that it was too heavy to carry, I went back to the car and deposited all the loot inside. Then I loaded in the car trunk also the first and the second parts of the fridge. After that, another Z interrupted my loot run and I had to deal with him before getting back inside. Where in the first shelf I found some skill books and farming supplies. The second had some cooking ingredients. While from the third I took a wooden rod I can use as a weapon or crafting material. A steel wool, that is a new item in build 42 that I don't know anything about, and a similar thing I can say about the carpentry chisel. In doubts of their utility, I took them both. After that, checking the 2 small fridges, I was able to find a diet cola and lime soda. While from the next double fridge I got a water plastic bottle plus some ginger ale in a bottle and a pop can. Next in the shelf near the cashier there was some marinara, peanut butter and ranch. Plus, after emptying a trash can, I decided to pick it up so I can bring one back to my base. After that, checking the next double fridge, I found a carton of orange juice and 4 more soda cans. Then from the snack vending machine I got a bag of chips, while from the pop cans one, a diet cola. After depositing all of this loot in the trunk, I went back to check the storage room as well. Here from the first fridge I got an apple juice, while from the second some cow's milk and some butter. Then from the first shelf I got an animal feed bag, the butchering level 2 skill book, an empty bucket and some seeds. More skill books and farming supplies was in the second shelf as well. From the other shelf I got another skill book, a pouch filled with different seeds types, plus a scythe and more seeds outside. Plus some slug repellent as a bonus. Then I had to deal with the zombie that broke in through the window and continued to loot. From the second shelf I found the animal care level 4 book, more animal feed, tools and seeds. Plus a garden basket containing more seeds. Then checking the boxes, I found 2 canned food in the first, 5 bags of chips in the second, canned tuna in the third, 4 more canned food from the fourth, 5 more from the fifth, 3 from the sixth, and 1 from the seventh. The rest of the boxes were empty. After that I moved some items to the car trunk until it was full. Then I went inside and placed the rest on top of the seats. Once I was finished, it was past midnight, and I wanted to see if I can explore more tomorrow before heading back home. So I went inside the closest house and slept in its bedroom.